All right, so we are here again. This is what is it? I think it's the 4th year of me doing picks in a row, which is crazy. It's been almost 5 years. I don't even know what to say to that. Obviously, you know, there's been a lot of new people coming around and whatnot. August has really just blown up for me, for my channel wise. So the way this works is I show my picks here, which is, you know, if people want to see them, they can look at them and go. Normal picks are yellow. The picks that, you know, I think, you know, aren't upsets. They're not, you know, crazy games where it's like, okay, well, again, like upsets and whatnot like that. And what I think most people would pick if they, you know, were to see this. Blue, which you see there's 2 on the screen, that is upsets. That is teams I think will or are not supposed to win, and I think they will win. There's always at least one a week, typically. And so, you know, I try to do one. And then the one that is not on here is green. Now, green, I started doing, I believe it was 2 years ago. So 2 years into this, I started doing a green one, which for me was my game of the week. So it's not Fox's game of the week or CBS's game of the week. It's what I think would be game of the week. And if you go back the past 2 years, there's been a couple times where I've had a noon game, in my opinion, be game of the week. It's more important than, you know, sometimes it's like Dallas and the Giants in 325. And it's like, no, like this noon game is more important than, you know, Dallas getting on national TV again. So stuff like that. Sometimes it can be Sunday night. Sometimes it can be Monday night. So again, I don't always do green, and I didn't this week. If I did, it probably would be Buffalo and the Rams. Just looking at it, I think that's what I would have game of the week. But I don't do it every week, so you will not see a green one every week. Now, 2 more things before we get into the picks. As you can see, it says 0-0 on the it's left side of the screen. That is my record for the week. And if I'm gonna just kind of spoil it. The total, so my overall total will be on the right side of the screen. That will be I'm going to do it for the regular season. So I'll have a total for the regular season, and then I'll have a total for the postseason. So the regular season one, it's going to get, I think I got to like 165 wins last year or something like that. So you're going to see big numbers on the right side of the screen. And it's obviously, it's going to be, 16 games. So you're going to see a number between, you know, 0 and 16 on the left-hand side of the screen here. So that's the last 2 things I got to cover if you're brand new to this. Now let's get into it. So let's talk about that Buffalo Rams game here right off the bat. Obviously Thursday night, start of the season. I think this one's a toss-up, and I mean, I feel like it'd be probably split 50-50 for who could win this game. It sucks that it's week 1, because if this was a mid-season matchup, like, again, you have teams in the flow. I've talked about this in the past couple football videos I've done. You have teams clicking in the flow, which doesn't happen in week 1. If this was like a mid-season game, I think this would be like game of the year potential. I think this is up there. That video, you can find that on my channel. So it's still a hype game, but it's just, I'm not super excited, because you're going to have 2 game 1, week 1 teams coming in, still trying to figure out everything. Obviously, most starters on most teams did not really play a lot in the preseason, so not a lot of, you know, vets and whatnot haven't really played since, you know, last season, which was 6 months ago. Obviously, you know, practice and games are totally different. So it's just, you know, week 1, I don't expect everyone to come out guns a-blazing and whatnot. There's going to be some missteps. Last year, I believe it was Chandler Jones had 5 sacks in the first week and then dropped off the rest of the season. So, you know, you might see stuff like that from players, and then again, they drop off later on in the season. So, I am picking Buffalo. I just feel like this might be like a 31-28 type of game or something like that. Maybe a little lower, because again, those defenses are pretty good. In my opinion, 2 top 10 defenses. So Buffalo probably barely wins. this one. Now, I'm going to kind of skip over New Orleans and Atlanta. Not a lot to talk about. Some of these, like, lower tier games I'm not going to talk a lot about throughout the season. Again, if you're brand new, I talk about, the higher matchups. I go a little more in-depth. Something like New Orleans and Atlanta, I don't have a lot to say about it because it's New Orleans is supposed to be a good team. Atlanta is a top 5 draft pick team, and there's not a lot to say. New Orleans should win this. Atlanta doesn't or shouldn't have a chance. Obviously, any given Sunday, it is a rivalry game, so who knows? But I just think New Orleans should have this in the bag. But it's week 1, so you never know exactly what's going to happen. Cleveland, Carolina. Baker Mayfield. I can't quote what he said, but Baker Mayfield came out and said some stuff in the past week, and he's gonna go at them hard. So I think a change of scenery, change of coach, change of wide receivers, as long as Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, change of running back, I think Baker will do fine in the Carolina system. We'll see because Matt Rule, we'll see how he does coaching. So I just think Cleveland is going to struggle to win 5 games before Deshaun Watson comes back. Again, he doesn't come back until week 11. So that's, what is that, November? So, they're going to struggle to win like half the games. And Jacoby Brissett is the starter for Cleveland, I forget. I feel like that changes weekly. So I'm picking Carolina. I think Baker does want to come out and really show, like, hey, like, you guys screwed up. You should not have let me go. Next one, I'm just going to brush over this. San Francisco, Chicago. In my opinion, Chicago's the top 3 draft pick. San Francisco, we'll see. Because I have seen some San Francisco people. True that is, I think their defense is good enough. But they should win this game. Chicago's probably going to start 0-2, 0-3, maybe 0-4 in this season. They're not going to do that well. Again, top probably 3 draft pick this year, which, you're rebuilding. You're going to have a bunch of money next year, so why not get a high draft pick? So, yeah, San Francisco's going to win that. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Obviously, I've stated this before. I do think Pittsburgh has a better defense than what the media leads you to believe. And this is an AFC North rivalry game. And I talked about this when I previewed week 1. I talked about this. This is going to be a really hard game to kind of predict because like the AFC North, I think, in my opinion, I think it's always anyone can win those games when you're going up against a rival, even if you're a bad team and the other team is good. So I am picking Cincinnati, but I think, Pittsburgh probably top 10, maybe top 10, maybe top 15. I think they're good. I think Mitch Trubisky's underrated. You got Najee in the backfield. You got Deontay Johnson out there. I forget who else they have out there. So, I think they can be in this game. I do. But I think the Bengals are trying to come out and prove, hey, we deserve to be in the Super Bowl last year. 3-4-0, and win a couple, games early on. And obviously, they're going to win more games down the stretch too. But I think they're really going to put on a campaign this year of, hey, we're going back to the Super Bowl, and no one in the AFC is going to stop us, despite how, everyone in the AFC is good. like obviously, you have your Jags, you have your Jets. Lower tier teams, but there's about like 10 to 15, well, not 15, but there's like 10 good teams in the AFC. So like, it's not going to be easy, to get in the playoffs. There's only 7 spots. So, I think they're going to campaign. I think they're going to win the division. So yeah, but Pittsburgh's going to give them a fight. They're going to give them a big fight. I believe that. Philadelphia, Detroit. I talked about this in my preview. This is going to be the underrated good. They'll be good. Again, I've said in the past, the ceiling is the wild card for Detroit. So I think they can potentially be good. It's just will they execute. So Philly, I think Philly's going to win the division. I do. So Philly's going to get the win here. Detroit's going to give them a run for their money. And this is going to be an underrated game that no one is going to talk about until after it's done. and people have seen the highlights for it, or they catch the end of it because their game finished up first. And it's going to come down to a last-second field goal or touchdown. In my opinion, if it happens, I'm a god. Indy, Houston, don't have a lot to talk about here. Indy should be good. They, Houston's got 2-3 years down the line. Davis Mills, I love Davis Mills. I think he's a really fun QB to watch. But Indy's going to win this. New England, Miami. I don't know how to feel about New England because, yes, they made the playoffs last year, but they limped in. They got demolished by the Bills. I don't know how to feel about them. I think Miami will come out, will win against New England. It's in Miami. We'll see how Tua does. That's the main factor. I think Miami has a decent defense and a decent offense around Tua, but it just depends on how well Tua does. So we'll see. Next, Baltimore Jets. Zach Wilson's obviously out for a while. I think for a month. I think he doesn't come back until early October. Ravens are going to go on a campaign too, just like the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to go on a campaign and say, hey, if we're healthy, if we stay healthy, we can run the table. Well, not run the table, but we can run into the playoffs. We can beat up on anyone, and we can make the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, there's obviously that whole thing with it. We'll see, but I think this should be an easy win for Baltimore. Washington and the Jags. This one, I guess it's not really an upset, but to me, Washington's the better team on paper than the Jags. But I think the Jags, they don't do bad in week one. Like, if you go back the past couple of years, I believe they've won, like, the past couple of years every time or something like that. So, they're not bad week one. And they had a, 1-in-15 year 2 years ago, and the one win came in week one against the Colts. I remember that. So, I think they can do well. Jags, maybe top 10 draft pick. Maybe they can get 5 wins, 6 wins in the season just to see. And I think this is their first one. I think they start 1-0. Tennessee and the Giants, not much to talk about. Tennessee's obviously gone downhill a little bit. But they should be able to beat up on the Giants. So the Giants are just they're just they'll be a top 10 draft pick too. Kansas City, Carolina. Oh my God. Kansas City and Arizona. I guess this could be my game of the week too. I have Arizona as an upset just because I think a lot of people still love the Chiefs. I think a lot of people still think, hey, the Chiefs are going to do well. Yes, they lost Tyreek Hill, but they still have weapons. Their defense is okay. Again, their defense has never been their strong point since Patrick Mahomes took over. He's carried them to the promised land. He won them a game in the promised land, lost them a game in the promised land. So I think a lot of people are seeing the Chiefs and going, yeah, they can still do it. I'm not a fan of MVS. I've talked about him. He is their deep threat now. He is a speedy wide receiver. So we'll see. But I think Arizona is going to come out. I think Kyler Murray has a lot to prove this year. I think Arizona has a lot to prove this year. So I think, again, it's an upset just because I think a lot more people would choose the Chiefs over the Cardinals this week. Then Raiders, Chargers. This could be game of the week too. There's 3 potential game of the weeks in here because, again, it's AFC West. Like, that's I'm projecting the Chargers to at least make the divisional, if not the AFC Championship game. I just think that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC. So I think if it comes down to Bills-Chargers, I think the Bills are going to win and go to the Super Bowl this year. So we'll see it because, again, anything can happen. I do think that the Chargers are right there. They're on par, basically, with the Bills. But I think the Bills have a lot more to prove over the past 2-3 years than the Chargers do, who are finally getting free agents, finally getting good. Herbert taking another leap this year, I think he will. Whoops. So I think Chargers will win the game here, but I think that if it comes down to Bills and Chargers in the AFC Championship game, I would probably take the Bills as of right now. Maybe we get to Week 18 or we get to the AFC Championship game. It is those 2 teams, and the Chargers are 16-2. Or 16-1 because there's 18 weeks only. Gotta have a bye. Something like that. maybe they have the 1 seed. Just, you know, maybe then I would shake the Chargers. And I'm off topic, so I'm going to get back on topic. This will be a fun game. Raiders will give them a run for their money. And Chargers will barely squeak out a win here. But it's the AFC West, so every single win you can get in your division is one step closer to the division title, to getting a top 4 seed, and then you make the dance, and you anything can happen in the dance. So, Green Bay, Minnesota. I talked about this in my week 1 preview. I don't know how to feel about Minnesota. I think they did kind of take a step forward. Obviously new staff and whatnot this year. But I don't know if I can say, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year. So we'll see what happens with Minnesota. I'm going to take Green Bay. Obviously it's in Minnesota. Packers, usually lose in Minnesota. You know, look back the past couple of years under Matt LaFleur, we usually go 1-1 against Minnesota. We did lose in Lambeau. I think that was the COVID year. So we won in Minnesota, lost in Lambeau. But last year we lost in Minnesota, won in Lambeau because obviously they Kirk Cousins got COVID. So again, it'll be a fun matchup. I think Minnesota might be able to hang with Green Bay's team with the team. But I don't know how to feel about Minnesota's defense. I think the Green Bay's defense has really taken a step forward. And so it might be kind of hard to, you know, really score on them. So we'll see, because you still have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen coming back. He should be healthy. We're not going to talk about Jalen Reagor. So I'm going to pick the Packers. But I'm interested to see how Minnesota does, because I think this game will kind of show potentially, well, at least the first 4 games will kind of show how their season goes. If they're 0-4, if they're, you know, 2-2, 3-1, 4-0, we'll see how they kind of look these first couple of weeks, and then I'll judge how I feel about them, you know, later on. Then Sunday night game, Dallas, Tampa. I'm going to pick Dallas. I think that the Tampa O-line's gotten a little worse. It doesn't feel like the Tampa team that we had 2 years ago. I don't know if I fully trust that defense. I think the Cowboys, you know, they're okay. Another year under Mike McCarthy. Hopefully Dak learned not to, you know, slide and then try to hike the ball before the ref sets it this time. So I think that, you know, Dallas is going to potentially win this game. So I'm not as high. Like Tampa's good. Tampa's a top 5 team, top 4 team in the NFC. But I don't know how I feel about them this year. And there is some doubts, and I didn't have doubts the first 2 years. This year I have doubts about them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. But I'm gonna pick Dallas to win in Dallas against Tampa. Monday night, excuse me. Denver, Seattle. Okay, I'm not even gonna really touch this game. Denver's gonna win this. Seattle is probably a top 3 draft pick. so yeah, that's just how it is. Good team versus bad team. Russell Wilson probably is gonna see Pete Carroll and get fired up and go, hey, I want to beat this guy. Drop 40 on him or something. I don't know why this is a Monday night game, because I bet you by halftime, if the score's like 28, well, not 28-3, but if it's, well, it could be 28-3, but if it's something like that, or 21-3 or whatever, and we see like no offensive movement from Seattle, people are going to tune out of this game. I talked about this in my week 1 preview. I don't know why Dallas and Tampa is, week 1 again, but I think this should have been Monday night. And then you put Denver, Seattle at noon, and then you can put Philly, Detroit Monday night or Sunday night or something like that. Put Cleveland, Carolina Monday night. So let me know your picks, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. That's about it. That's, you know, every game covered for now. Like the video, share the video around, don't forget to subscribe, and football is here. Woo! I'm out of here.